In this lesson, we shall be talking about operators and operand. We know that C# programs are made up of statements, and that statements are expressions that are terminated with semicolon. We also know that expressions are actually operators and operands. So, which means that C# statements are operators and operands terminated with semicolons. So, in this lesson, we shall be looking at operator, we'll be looking at operand. What are operators and what are operands? And we are using them in the same way that mathematics used them. So, in mathematics, we know that if you say x is equals to a plus b, x is an operand, equal to is an operator, a is an operand, and plus is also an operator. And this is the same way with C#. There are a number of operators that are used in C#, and we are going to be taking a look at these operators and how to use them in these lessons. The operators. So in C#, there are three types of operators. Mainly, if we are grouping them, the first type are unary operators, which are operators that take only one operand. And then the second type are binary operators, which are usually operators that take two operands. Things like when you say A plus B, then you have A and then you have B. These are two operands. And the third type of operators are ternary operators, which are operators that take three operands. There is actually only one ternary operator in C#, and that's the question mark colon operator. It's actually like if A is greater than 6, then if x is greater than 6, then the result is A. Otherwise, the result is B. That's the ternary. We'll talk about the ternary operator as well. So, in addition to grouping them in the way that we have looked at them as whether they are unary operator, binary operator, ternary operator, operators are also grouped according to what they do. So the first type of operators that we'll be looking at are assignment operators. Assignment operators assign memory to the value to the memory of the computer. So let's go to the online compiler and do some things with the operators. Now, if we look at line 7 on this program that we have on the screen, the first thing we will see there is that int a is equals to 5. This is an assignment statement. What we are telling the computer here in line 7 is that the computer should assign the value 5 to the memory location A. And of course, we can view what we have in that memory location simply by, so we can do something like this, console.writeLine, and then we can say 5. We can say A. So when we run to this point, the computer will show us. So what we have in A. You see this 5. That is the value that we have in A. So if we do this, if we comment out Okay. So if we do this, you see the value 5 here, indicating the value that we have in the memory location. We can actually do this. The value in memory location A is, and then we concatenate it with the value A. So if we do this, we'll have a different output, which is now the value in memory location A is 5. So we are the one that we instructed the computer in line 7 to put the value of 5 in an integer memory location A. So in this program, what we have the operator equal to, which is an assignment operator, and this operator can assign value to memory location, and then we have the operand A and the operand 5. So the operand A is the memory location to which we want to assign the value, and that is assignment statement. There are other type of statement that will do things to this value. So the first thing we might look at is actually incrementing the assignment, which also like if we do A++, if we do A++, and this A++ means A is equals to A plus 1. So anytime you see A++, it means A is equals to A plus 1. So if we take this here, if we cut that one out, and we take it to this point so that we can see the result. If we run this, we find out that now what we have A is in the memory location is 7. So yeah, it should be actually 6, and that's because we have run these two statements. I need this one to be this line. It should actually be 2 instructions. So the first part of it is for the human being, which is for the compiler. Remember, I said that your first audience as a developer is the compiler. So your second audience are your user, and your third audience are your developers or developers that will maintain your code in the future. So in these 3 lines of code, we are talking to 3 different set of people. So line 7 is talking to the compiler, is telling the compiler set up a memory location, but thereafter you see this double slash, which means comment, and then the following statements are actually for developers. So I'm trying to explain exactly what's happening here. And the same thing at this point. So if I run this program again, the answer should be 6 because we run that. So the answer here, so the value memory location A is 6. And this actually was not intended to be executed by the computer. I'm just trying to explain that whenever you see A++, it's also the same thing as A is equals to A plus 1. And then, of course, this line 9 outputs the value so that you can see it. So if we increment it again, so A++, which you know what it is, and if you print the result out again, it should be 7 now. And of course, if you then also go down and use the same method, which is also another type of assignment, you can then see A plus equals 3. If you do this, and then you do this, it also means what you are saying as well is you are saying A is equals to A plus 3, which in our case we now make A to be equals to 10. A will now be equals to 10. So if we run this, A is now equals, the value in memory location A is 10. So A is now equals to 10. So this is talking about assignment operator. But if you at this, we can at this point before we move. Okay, so if you look at all of this, what we are telling, we are working with the memory, and we're telling the computer put something in memory and then do something to what you have in memory, which is exactly what assignment operator will do. In addition to assignment operator, we also have the arithmetic operator. So let's take a look at the arithmetic operator. So we know that the arithmetic operators are actually like the plus. Okay, let's start with the multiplication, the addition, the subtraction, the division, and then the modulus or the remainder operator. So if we can say something like var, so we declare a variable, so which is the operand that we are going to be storing the value into. We can say operand var number is equals to a. So let's start with the multiplication. A multiplied by 5. So now what we have done is, so this is multiplication. So A is so now num is equals to A times 5, where we know what is in num, so we can print out the result of that operation. The value in memory location num. So we have a new num is num. Okay, so if we run this now, we should have some output. So let's start. Now, the value in location A is 10, and then the value in location num is 50. Why? Because we said that num is equals to A times 5. So num is equals to A times 5, which is 50, and that is what we have here. So we are seeing this operator, the multiplication operator, in action. We shall do the very same thing, and then we shall just like run through like that, and we can do this. We call this, the next operator we are looking at is the addition operator. So let's do the addition operator, and then we just do plus, and we'll still do the same thing. So we have the num2. So let's call that num2, which is the same num2. So now num2 is that, and num2 is that. So now we are saying whatever we have in num2 will be displayed in the same way. So num2 is A plus 5, because we are showing the addition operator. Let's run the command. So now we have memory location num2 is now containing the value 15, because num2 will contain A plus 5. Yes, so we can, so we can then do the same thing and have num3, and num3 will be, so num3 will be A minus 5. So if we subtract 5 from A, and then we change this to subtraction, and then that will still give us num3, and this will be num3, and answer, and that will be like that. So if we run this, we should see that num3 is containing the value of 5. And if we go, we still do the same thing. We're repeating ourselves. Actually, you won't do this in real life program, because this you don't want to repeat yourself. But we're repeating ourselves here just to emphasize the learning of operator. You won't do this in normal programming. Actually, it's an anti-pattern. But well, just because we need to explain what's happening here. So here we're dividing num4 is equals to the value that we studied, that we operated on in A. We are now carrying out the division operator on it. So let's do this division. And the value in our num4 is num4. So we're working still on that memory location. So now we have what we have in memory location A, which we assign and incremented to, and then that. So if we run this, we find out that what we have in num4 is 2. So num4 is 2. Why? Because we add 10 in A, and then once we carry out this operation of division on that, we have now 2. And let's finally do the last one, which is the modulus operation. So which will go to num5. The modulus operation is the remainder operation. So now, if we run this now, we should have 0. So we have 0 here because when you divide 5 by, but let's alter this and change this to 4. So let's say we want to see a modulus 4. So if we do that, we should have the result of 2, which is that when you divide 10 with 4, you are going to have 2 remainder 2. So your result, the result of the modulus operator, A modulus 4, is actually 2. And that is the arithmetic operator. But before we go looking at the other operators, I want to look at the operands that we'll be talking about in the course of all our discussion. We said that the math operation, that an expression is made up of the operator and operand. Now we have looked at arithmetic operator. So to actually make knowledge clearer and make it easier for us going forward, I think it is important that we should talk about the operands. What are operands? The operands are the elements that the operator work upon. So in this case, so usually the operand in C# are variables and constants. So operands are operands are operands are variables and constants. Mostly the elements that you work with in your program. So when you see var A is equals to var B equals 0, we are talking about creating a memory location, a variable, and assigning a value to it. So the first type of operand we're talking about are variables. And these variables will contain variables will contain values that are likely to change during the period of implementation. Values that could change during the period of implementation, and values that are stored during the period of implementation will be memory locations given a particular name. So the name that you give to memory locations or variables, there are rules as to which type of names you can give. The most important rule is that you cannot use, there are ways to do it, but you don't want to use a reserved word. Like for instance, you cannot say var int equals to 1. So you cannot, because why? Because int is a reserved word. You can't do that. This is illegal. It will not work. But you could do something like int 1, for instance. If you do int 1, it will work. But if you do int, you will see an exception. What exception do we have there? It says, so it didn't say the name var does not, okay, so it won't let you actually do that because it is illegal to use a reserved word. You cannot, you shouldn't. And so when you are naming your variables, you shouldn't name your variable with things like go to. You shouldn't do that. These are reserved C# words. So you shouldn't use C# word for your variable. Usually, so you could do things like, okay, go to first, or go to 1 will work, but go to will not work. You cannot also start the naming of your variables with an integer. You can't do something like, let's say 1 go to. This won't work. It's not going to work. You can't do that. But you can name your variables. So you can do A1, or A2. That will work. A will work. We got to put a semicolon at the end of it. So A2 equals 1. So in naming your variables, those are the simple rules. The simple rules are you cannot use reserved word. You cannot start with a number, but you can end it with a number. So usually the name, when we talk about giving information about how your program runs, the name you give to your variables are very, very important because then they can tell you the meaning. So instead of doing thing like what I've done here, you could do something like, if you are calculating age, you can say like var age equals, say, or maybe it's an integer. So you also can talk about the actual type. Int age is equals to 5. So if you are like that, so everybody looking at this variable know that you are talking about age, instead of like what I have here, which does not give accurate meaning. So you use the fact of variables to give appropriate names so that developers maintaining your code in the future can easily understand what your code talk about. The second type of operand that we work with are constants. Const int equals constant equals const int constant age equals 5 equals 10. Let's say. So the thing about constant is that you cannot reassign value to a constant during the period. So if I come back later, let's say, we have age there, I can come back and say age plus plus. Remember that? Remember us saying age plus plus. What does age plus plus do? So we say we increment the age. So we can do that. So let's say we increment the age, that is age is equals to age plus 1. We can do that. And then we can also do A2 plus plus, which you now know what that means. And we can do B plus plus, which you know that what that means as well. But we cannot go ahead and do constant age plus plus. What will happen if we try to do that constant age plus plus? If we try to do this, what will happen? So now we can't do it, because why can't we do it? Because it says the operand of an increment or decrement must be a variable. So we can only increment a variable. We cannot increment a constant. Why? Because a constant is constant. So there are two types of operand, mostly group of operands, which could be either variables or they could be constant. And constant is expected to be constant during the period of your implementation. And so you are not expected to change it. You cannot just come around later after you have declared a value to be constant and try to either increment it or try to put another value into it. So constant cannot be incremented. And then you can also try to assign a value to it. So constant age equals age. You cannot do this. You can store constant age. See what it tells us. The left-hand side of an assignment must be a variable, property, or indexer. So you cannot use a constant as a left-hand side of an assignment statement, which means you cannot assign a value to a memory that you have already declared as constant. That, in a nutshell, is our lesson for today. So today we have looked at operators. We have introduced ourselves to operators and operand. We have looked at the assignment operator and the arithmetic operator, and we have looked at operand. We looked at the variable, and we look at constant. So mostly C# is a typed programming language, and in a typed programming language, the type is very, very important. So I will be talking about the C# type in the next lesson, and we'll also, so in the next lesson we are going to be looking at the remainder of the operators. So we're looking at the relational operator, the bitwise operator, the logical operator, and then we also look at the types that are available in C#. If you have any questions, please get back to me, and we will talk about it. Thank you very much for listening.